So, welcome to another epic conversation. This is epic conversation number two, and I'm here with my friend and fellow coach, Louise. So, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, so excited.
And Louise is in the UK. So, we are very far. I don't know how many thousands of miles, but we are very far apart right now. And so I love this magic of Zoom that's connecting us tonight. Um, So my year this year is my year of miracles, right? Have you seen? I've been posting about that. And so I am so fascinated with this process that I've gone through and that other people have gone through, where we actually accomplish things that we previously thought were impossible, right? Which is kind of the basis of coaching, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is what coaching is and how it's transformed us. But first, I would love to hear about you, um, where you are in your business, how you serve people, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so exciting. So my business has really evolved and grown over the years as my own journey in coaching has as well. So I'm fortunate that now I am based in the UK, but I've, through the power of technology, especially in recent times, like connecting with so many people all over the world. And for the last probably 5 years or so now, I've been fortunate to coach people from all different countries, all different backgrounds, and ultimately be in conversation and do the work I love while helping people to step into their own greatness and create what it is they want to create, because all of us at one time or another, we have an idea, like a vision for the thing that we want to create in our lives. It's like
Yeah.
this thing of, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if?
Mhm.
But then we get conditioned over time and develop these layers of ideas, beliefs, limitations, identities. And we kind of like go along with the collective existence, forgetting what it was that we wanted to create. But this little niggling, I find, is often always there. And when you start waking up to it, you can't ignore it anymore. And so, like, the work I love to do is helping people to really look at what is the highest vision that you have for yourself, that you maybe dare not speak out to the world, but you've thought about it many times internally. Like, and how do you take that and actually, create what is on the inside world on the external world, so that it becomes your actual lived reality. So that's the work that I love to do. And like diving in through coaching conversation to help people really bring that highest vision to life.
Yeah. And I know you do personal visions, but also business visions, right? So you do some business coaching.
Yeah, so the majority of the clients that I work with is from a business sense. Like, I love working with people to really ignite their own personal leadership and what it is they want to grow and create. Like, what contribution do you want to make to the world? Like, what is that highest vision that you have? And how do you take what you love and put it in a container that allows you to powerfully serve people, but also generate you income as well, so that it can become something that you live and you love, So I have this, it's annoying sometimes for some people, like this knack of being able to see me, like being able to see somebody and like getting a glimpse of the highest possible vision that's available to them. So for instance, this is where I say it is an annoying part, because there's a taxi guy
Right.
who, locally, this taxi driver, he often picks me up, and
Yeah.
every time I'm in his cab, so over Christmas, he picked me up, and I was like, because he's booked out, he's like an entrepreneur, and he's got his hands in a few things, and people absolutely love him. And every
Mhm.
time I see him and he talks about his work, I can't help but have the conversation with him of
Yeah.
like, him really seeing the greatness of what he could create and stepping into that. And every time he's, oh, you always have these conversations with me, and I know, and it's something that I want to do, but helping people to wake up to the possibility of what they see inside
Yeah.
of their mind. That vision is being given to them for a reason,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you
Yes.
can take your unique skills and abilities and passion and create something really magical out of it. So that's the piece that I really love, like the inner transformation, by helping people to awaken their own greatness and then look at, right now, from this space of freedom and greatness and magic and miracles, what now do you want to bring to life in your external world? And then the making of that piece as well.
Yeah. And every time I think about this on this train of thought about people bringing their visions into fruition, right? I think about what kind of world it would create, right? If we all said yes, right?
Yeah.
Like what is moving through all of us, right? That we all have in common. Like what world is waiting to be created?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that thing, that dare to dream, like daring to dream so big, and then having the courage to say, what is it that, what resistance is in the way of me realizing that dream? And
Right.
often it's the self-talk of, I'm not good enough. Who am I to think that? Who am I to do that? Who am I to be that? And all the internal conditioned stuff that has got in the way of us daring to dream really big and having the courage to step into the creation of that and, commit to that journey of self.
Yeah, so you led right into the next topic, which is how did you get into inner work? So every coach I know has had their own personal transformation. And there's this thing about like everyone's being a coach or something, but I'm like, yeah, everybody be a coach because I want everyone to have such a powerful personal transformation, right? To know new possibilities like they never did before and want to share it with others, right? So I'm always interested in how did you get started with inner work? Like what led you down this path?
Yeah, really great question. And so my journey started a long time ago when I was in my teens. I had a very, I didn't know it at the time, but I had a very dark view of the world. Like I felt like I hated myself, like the world hated me, that I was unlovable, that I didn't fit in, that people didn't want me. Through my own personal story, I had an experience of what looked like rejection from my family. I ended up in the care system and lived in different homes and spent some time being homeless. And just for a period of years, like those teenage years, there was so much going on with me internally. And I didn't know that what I was thinking wasn't true. There were things being projected onto me, like from my mother, and I didn't realize that that was her stuff,
Right.
and actually how she felt about herself. And I'd taking it as how I felt about me and how other people felt about me. And so my world was a very, very dark world. Like I spent numerous years living a very destructive, like physically destructive life to myself, and not in a nice world externally. And the external world was mirroring my internal world, and struggling with mental health problems and everything else that came along with that lifestyle. But something interesting in that during all of those years, there was always something niggling at me. And I literally had a thought one day. So I'd spent some time sleeping rough on like literally on the back streets of London. And I'd spent a period of time living in that way. And there was one day I had a thought of, your life is not meant to be this way. And it was so strong and so clear. And I had probably had that thought so many times before. But this time there was something really different about it. And I felt it and I woke up to it. And it was literally a massive realization of, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? This is not how living is supposed to be. And from that moment, I kind of cleaned things up. I came back to my hometown. I made amends with my family and was able to spend some time there and build those bridges. And it took a year or two to really kind of to get myself back to some kind of semi-normality, because at this point, there was so much destruction. But when I did, I started to realize and reflect on, why was it I experienced what I did? Why was it I was feeling the way that I felt? And that knowing of, hang on a minute, I listened to a voice in my head and created something different. And oh my God, I've been listening to all the voices in my head, creating something completely opposite. And so, that was in, so I was around about 18, 19 when things really started to straighten out. And I began to see that there were so many people around me suffering, like in real deep internal suffering, struggle, and pain in the same way that I had experienced, but I was now starting to experience something different.
Yeah.
And so reflecting on what was it that was missing? What was it that I wanted and needed during that period of time that would have created and made a difference? And so I then got like a regular job in sales, but people would instinctively come to me and ask me like questions about, oh, I'm struggling with this or I'm suffering with that. Like, what can I do?
They could tell you had the magic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that, like, hello, I've been through stuff, talk to me without kind of saying that. And there were parents in particular. So my parents' friends started coming to me with their younger kids and saying, look, my child's exhibiting this behavior or that. What do I do? Any advice that you can give me? And I really had a sense that I needed to use and wanted to use what I had learned through my experience to help others not go down that same path. And so my journey into coaching really started there from a naive perspective of, I am going to change the world and I'm going to save every young person from suffering and make sure no one ever experiences this kind of pain and disorder in their lives. And it was actually the naivety of thinking that I invented this stuff that allowed me to go on and create what I then created as a result of doing this work. And so very quickly I realized what it was that was creating my world, my thinking and the stuff that was going on within me, and that we could change it. And then I started to build a business, coaching and mentoring organization. And it was from that space that I really started to fall into the world of personal development and realize that, oh, this is actually a thing. There's stuff you can learn about this. So that was like my entry into inner work. It was very much a falling flat on your face approach to learning how to do life and how not to do life at a young age, and I think that I look back now and I'm so thankful for the experiences that I had, like being able to physically be witness internally to what it is like to be in the darkest, deepest, most desperate spaces of suffering and despair. And then having the contrast and experience of, experiencing some of the most magical, blissful, grateful, abundant beauty and miracles of life is like that feels like such a gift to be able to have those two contrasting things at play.
No, that's to me what really living is, right? Is to have access to the full range of human experience. And I can relate so much to I did 50 calls last year, right? For 50 women, and someone signed up and got on the call. She's like, I was your first client, right? And I helped her through a hard time in 8th grade, I think it was. And that made me realize, I was like, man, I've always had someone, right? There's always been someone that I've been coaching. Man, I have 20 years of experience now, if you count that, right? And so it's so beautiful to hear someone else have a similar experience and to see how this kind of relationship is just core to humanity, right? Like I thought I made it up, you thought you made it up, right? But it's just how humans work. And it's so beautiful when I just feel like it's a soul deep connection, right? When you're talking about the kinds of things. And
I think the notion of I must have made this up came from not seeing that anywhere else in my world. I hadn't experienced being in a world where people are conscious and aware of themselves and the power they have as influencers, as creators, as loving, kind, giving human beings. Like I very much experienced living in a world where people are so caught up in their own stuff that they haven't quite got a grip on the world, and so they're projecting their stuff onto other people's stuff. And when you're young and when you're little, you take that on board, and it's like the impression that I was given of how life is, how people are, how the world works was very contrary to the one that I started to experience when I entered into this world of like change and growth and transformation, of like, oh my gosh, there's another way that feels so
Yes.
good.
I was just telling you about a client that I just spoke to, right? About how he'd been in therapy for so many years. And this has happened multiple times with clients of mine. They've been in therapy for so many years and just in their stuff, right? Which is like such
Yeah.
important work, right? But there comes to a point where you're like, is this it? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you step into like personal development and you're like, no, I
Mm-hmm.
want to kick some ass now, right? Like I'm ready
Yeah.
to kick some ass. And
Yeah.
that's what coaching helps you do. So you spoke a little bit about the kind of new understanding that you didn't
Mm.
have, growing up that you have now that really impacted you. But if you were to, and this can be recent or not recent, but if you were to pick out one piece of wisdom or
Mm.
concept that you feel like has changed you as a person, right? Changed who you are and who you can be in the world. Um, what would that
Yeah.
be?
There were I'd say there were three pivotal transformational moments of my life. One of them was one I spoke to when I heard that thinking so
Yes.
clearly, like
And you listened,
instruction,
right?
and I listened to it that time. But I remember the first thing that really like woke me up to how our world is internally created in a way where I literally saw it in black and white.
Yeah.
And I wish I had one now, but I don't know if you've ever seen the chessboard illusion. It's like a piece of paper with a chessboard on it.
Yeah.
I'll ping over a link so you can maybe link the photo of it
Yeah. Yeah.
under this. You can see
Below.
it. But
Mhm.
it's a visual illusion of a chessboard, and so you've literally got black, white, the squares as they go across, and then there's a
Yes.
cylinder in the corner and a piece that goes across it. But basically, you look at the chessboard, and there's a white square at the top and a black square in the middle. How the patterns match,
Yeah. Yeah.
how you think the patterns match, until you fold over the piece of paper. So I remember I was like, right, fold over the piece of paper because those two colors are exactly the same color. Now I'm
Yeah.
looking at this piece of paper going, no, that one's definitely white and that one's definitely black. But when you
Right.
fold the paper over and layer them on top of each other, they are exactly the same color.
Uh-huh.
And it was like the teaching was that your brain works by pattern matching. We are
Yeah.
constantly recognizing patterns and
Uh-huh.
matching the world to the patterns that we already know. And that was the demonstration of it. And I saw this piece of paper that literally, like, I would have bet money on it. They were two
Right.
different
Right. You
colors.
were sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then seeing them come together just through a change in perspective by those pieces of paper folding over the top of each other.
Yes.
Genuinely, I think my jaw must have like fell to the floor, because it was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
wow. Like, what I was literally stunned. And it was like, if I'm not seeing even this piece of paper in the way
Right.
that
What am
it
I
is, like,
missing? Yeah.
what
Yeah.
else am I not seeing? Like, oh my God, everything's pattern matching, and my brain is filtering stuff out, and I'm not seeing the world as it really is. I'm seeing the world as my brain thinks it is. And it was like a real wake up moment to, wow, this is how this stuff works.
Yeah.
And so that was several years ago now. I think 2010 was the year that I had that insight. But more recently, in a deeper way, the thing that's really taken everything to the next level in my work, in my business, in the relationships with my clients, was seeing that, but in a deeper way about myself.
Yeah.
So seeing that not only is my brain filtering things out and making stuff up,
Yeah.
and everything is a thought created experience. There was a period a couple of years ago where I had a moment where I literally fell out of myself and realized that I too was an illusion, that my idea of self, of who I think I am, that I'm an individual Louise with all these beliefs and fears and judgments and great qualities and whatever, that all of that is actually made up. Like, all of it is a complete and utter illusion. Yeah. And it was literally it in that instant, everything, my world just blew wide open. And it was such a magical experience of like, wow, there's no fears and beliefs and doubts that I need to get over, because the idea of getting over that stuff is speaking to the idea that those things are true. when actually if we look at what comes before that and who I think I am is made up, that stuff naturally falls away as a result of that. And so that was like, that was the real game changer for me based on where I was at that point in my life and business.
Yeah, I love all of those key moments, and it's reminding me of what our coach JP said recently about changing your preferences, right? And I know I've done that before. Like I remember I went on a paleo diet and I was like, vegetables are going to be my favorite now. They weren't before, but I decided. But I hadn't realized I had done that until JP brought it up. And there's so many things that we feel that so much certainty about. In fact, when we feel the most certainty about something, right? To me, that's a flag that's like, oh, you might not see the whole picture, right? Like there's more out there because the more I explore, the less certainty there is in the world, right? About how things work and what things are, right? Or who I am, right? And so I love how the three I can just see the progression, right? Of how you expanded and expanded and expanded as you evolved. And so beautiful. So beautiful.
Thank you. That last one though, it was scary, right? Like having a moment of, and it literally came the weekend before I was about to run a group program for entrepreneurs all around overcoming their fears and blocks in entrepreneurship. And it was like nearly all of my content that I'd created was pointing to this idea that fears are real, that blocks are real, that doubts are real, that you need to reprogram your mind in order to create something different. And there I was going into this weekend of like, oh my gosh, none of it's real. And I remember like, it's like, none of it's real. Oh my God, it's amazing. And I was like, none of it's real. So I've been creating all this like stuff and all this drama and all these things. And like, oh my gosh, like all my issues and all my problems, none of that is real. And it was such an up and down journey of acceptance to really kind of but I couldn't not see it, at that point. It was so I didn't realize how much I'd been searching for that until I experienced
You've been leading up to it.
Because I thought I kind of got it. I was teaching, like I'd studied for 14 years now, mindset, neuroscience, like all of the stuff around how our inner world constructs. But it was like this piece was like that deep spiritual piece that came before any of that stuff. And it was like the missing link in a way, but it was also like, wow, that means everything about myself, my identity in business is like, it's real. So, but it's so such a transformational moment to have experienced.
Well, right. It's so much gratitude now later, right? Once you adjust to the reality. I remember when I had this epiphany that wait, my thoughts are not like truths. The purpose of my brain is to keep me alive. Right. So you talked about pattern matching. Like my brain is literally going to think whatever it thinks has the best chance of keeping me alive. It has nothing to do with like what's true and what's not true. Right. And so I get a say in designing, right, how this goes, especially if I can use my consciousness to say, hey, brain, that's not like, that's actually not useful. Let's do it a different way. And anyway, so I was leading that into like self-creation, right? In this idea, and this is what coaches do, right? Is we help people step into their full power, not just to accomplish the things they want to do and be who they want to be, but to contribute to creating the reality of the world, right?
Yeah.
And to make a world that they want to live in and we all want to live in, right?
Yeah. I think, and to really wake up to the knowing that they're always creating. Like we're always
you're doing it anyway.
Like it's like we're always in creation. You've just forgotten the power and the ability and the phenomenal force of creation that you are. And so like coaching is about waking people back up to that, and it's such an empowering process because so much of the world is teaching us to look outside of ourselves for the thing, for the answer, for the rule, for what we're supposed to do, for what we need. And it's like everything is almost being like, we're being constantly bombarded and conditioned to look in the opposite direction, you know? And
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
coaching is waking back up to your own magic is the most powerful, valuable thing and journey that you can ever go on, and it will never leave you. Like, there'll be moments where you forget
right,
it. There's so many moments where I forget it, as
Yeah.
you know. It's like, which is why I always work with a coach, and I've always got some form of coach, because I know I can't see my own blind spots. I can't see what I can't see. I can't see the obstacles in my own way, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
searching over here.
And it's a forever journey, right? Sometimes we're like, I had a breakthrough, I understand everything. And then it's like, oh, look, another layer. Great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's keep going. So you brought up having a coach. So why do you spoke about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
what is your experience with being coached? Like, how has that impacted you? Right? What does
Yeah.
that add to your life? Um, and how long have you been being coached?
Yes, great questions. So I would say that I have been being coached since I can remember, like, for myself. It's like I'm always, probably the most powerful way I experience coaching is self-coaching,
Yeah, yeah,
because and it's like having that awareness, which is another great thing that coaching does. Like, the more I've worked with coaches, the more I've experienced powerful coaching from others towards me, the more I've been around coaching circles, the stronger my ability to coach myself has been,
yes,
because it's like, when you experience those breakthroughs, and when somebody can hold you in a space and ask
mhm,
powerful guiding questions, and you witness the difference between words, between language,
yeah,
felt experience within yourself, it's like you can literally guide yourself to greatness and have others guide you there too. I used to very much be somebody who I did not talk about emotions. I didn't talk about
yeah, yeah,
feelings.
yeah,
No, we
yeah,
don't do that. We don't go there. And so I wasn't really honest with myself, because it
right,
was like, no, you shove it down. You don't bring it up. And so
mhm,
for a long time, I walked around with all this stuff within me,
right,
and I couldn't, it's like, I wasn't sure what my intuition was. I didn't know, like, that I was so out of tune with myself because I was
yeah,
so full of stuff.
yeah,
And what coaching and being on this journey allowed me to do was to look at, look at ways that I was being dishonest with myself, ways I was tricking myself, ways in which I was denying my own greatness, obstacles that are in my way. And I think one of the biggest shifts that I had in the initial stages of being coached was realizing that, oh my gosh, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. What, you mean you mean I'm not broken and I don't need fixing? Like, it's totally normal to experience this stuff, and like, oh, okay, maybe I am okay. I think that was in the early days, one of the things that coaching gave me was that ability to reflect and to see those blind spots and see where I
mhm,
was beating myself up, and
yeah, yeah,
um, and and to also help me grow myself. Like, I look at it this way: if I'm helping other people to create what they want to see in their life, if I'm helping other people, if I'm guiding them to greatness,
right,
I need
right,
to always be a space where I'm learning and growing. Like, we've all heard the best way to learn is to teach.
yeah,
And teaching through my own self-reflection, but also teaching from my own coach. Like, I learned so much from my
yes,
coaching clients, like
yes,
so
yes,
much from
yes,
my coaching
yes,
clients, you know?
mhm,
So yeah, like, I'm always being coached, and it's the most valuable investment that somebody can make, as far as I'm concerned, because it's like, we get one experience of life, we get one go at it, and
yeah,
I want to make
that's it,
sure that I'm being held in a way that allows me to really, sounds like such a cliche, but I want to know that I have lived and loved and contributed at my highest possible level, because
yeah,
that's the only thing we take with us, are the memories we made, the lives we impacted, and the way that we felt along the way. And having seen and it felt and experienced for myself and for so many clients that I've worked with, that it is 100% absolutely possible. I would never not want to experience that. I
yeah,
don't want to live in any other way.
yeah, yeah. the freedom that getting practiced at coaching, being coached and coaching others and self-coaching, it allows you this freedom to explore yourself without shame, right?
Yes.
To me, this is like the key thing that if I could get everyone on the planet there, right, then we could all just like the inner work we could all do would just be like exponentially faster, right? But there's this switch that I see that I saw myself go through, and I love to take clients through it, is this switch to like, oh, I'm ashamed that like I don't know everything, and I'm don't really want to see, the problems that, or resistance I have inside myself, to this place. And then all of a sudden you find people to be around, right? Or you hire a coach that that's just excited about looking into the darkness of yourself, right? And excited about
Yeah.
finding the thing in the way, because now we can remove it, right? And so I just am so in love with being around people, right? And keeping people in my life that I've talked to you, you've talked to me, right? We have other people in our coaching circles. We're like, let's keep this conversation going because I just want everybody's input on my life possible because I want to know, right? I just want to explore every nook and cranny, right? Of possible new freedoms that I could experience, right? And that's we're able to do that when the shame is released, and I think that requires other people. I don't think we get there by ourselves, right?
100%. There's only so far we can go by ourselves, and I experience that all the time. Like even yesterday in my coaching session, there was like something that I connected from maybe 6-7 years ago, and I'm like, how did I not see that through all this work that I've been doing? But it's like, I wasn't able to see it for myself because I was
Yeah.
looking over here and this thing was quietly tucked away in the background, like thinking it was being really useful. And I couldn't see it for myself. Like we can't see what we can't see. And I cannot tell you the amount of times clients will say to me, oh my God, yeah, how did I not see that? I do it for my clients all the time. Why
Yes.
could I not do it for myself? And it's like, because we're in the illusion of it. And,
Yes.
and and that really is what coaching is. It's about helping you to wake up and see the illusion that you are so experiencing as real
Yeah.
without realizing, it's like waking you back up to realize you're the dreamer of the dream, not just the
Yes.
character in it. And it's like when we're asleep, do we know we're asleep? No, we're in the dream and we're experiencing and reacting and having sometimes the physical, like felt
Experience,
experience of that
right? Yeah.
dream, even
Yeah.
though we've got our eyes shut and we're not moving. And so that's what coaching really does, is to help you see where you're not seeing your own greatness, to have
Yeah.
somebody believe in
Yeah.
you even when you don't believe in yourself,
Yeah.
and to have somebody help there shine a light on the stuff that you can't see or don't want to see.
Oh my gosh, my favorite example of us all having things outside of the field that we can see, right, is when we're talking about some concept. I'm talking about some concept with a client, and I say something. It's like a simple sentence, like others
Mm,
are not responsible for your needs, right? Like take a simple sentence, and they'll say, "Excuse me, can you say that again?" And it's like they couldn't even process the words because the
mhm,
concept was so foreign, right?
mhm,
And then in those moments, I realized, like, oh my gosh, they didn't even have like a schematic in their brain that could have gotten them there, right?
yeah.
Because and so they're all the things they're telling me, they're struggling and struggling and struggling, and I can detect exactly the place they're struggling, and I just say the simple sentence, and they have to like process it, right?
Mm,
And it's like, wow, just like you said, they're pattern matching in our brains. Like if we don't have, we've been talking about forgiveness in my circle, and some of the women, they just don't come from a family where you're forgiven. You're
mhm,
just not. It just stays, right? Forever. And so it's like we
yeah,
have to build new schematics to understand what forgiveness is and to incorporate it in our lives and to understand how to get there from wherever we are. And the things that are so foundational and so basic that
mm,
that to me that's like the biggest expansion, right? When we can access that through a coach or through you know,
yeah.
uh, other self-help work, self-development work. It just blows my mind watching how it expands somebody, right? So
Mhm,
fast, just like
yeah.
in the moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that thing that really creates change, isn't it? Like change and transformation. When you have a new insight and
Yeah.
you see something that you didn't know was possible or had no idea about before, it's like you can't unsee it. And instantly in that moment, your world changes. So powerful.
I love to think about how much change can happen in such a short amount of time, right? I think
Yeah.
we think change takes forever. I'm gonna practice this for a long time. And yes, lots of things are a practice, right? All embodiment is a practice for
Mm.
sure. Um, and also, you can have one conversation, do you know what I mean? And have one sentence in that conversation change your life immediately, right? I
Yes.
think one of my favorite parts of coaching is this idea that you get to decide starting right
Mm.
now. Who are you going to
Mm.
be? Right?
Yeah.
And it's just this powerful acknowledgement of your own power to be like, no, this is what I'm going to do now. Right? And
Yes.
it's going to be different from right now on. Right? And I think I didn't grow up knowing I had that power. Right?
Mm.
And now that I've experienced it and I watch other people experience it, right? It expands my idea of what's possible. Like, holy moly, right? What else can I decide? Like somebody else talk to me, I'm gonna decide another thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And working with a coach as well, it's like you're not just having a conversation with someone. Like you're committing to working with somebody who has committed their life to the
Yeah.
practice of learning and growing and expanding and helping people
Yeah.
step into their greatness and having conversations and looking for those things, and has experience talking with so many different people in so many different ways. And it's like the commitment that coaches make to the journey of
Right?
seeing somebody in their magic and
Yeah.
holding you there and being that for you, like that in itself is so transformational, because who else does that?
So
Everybody's so busy with their lives. It's like, where else do you get that
yeah.
space just for you to grow into your fullest, most magnificent self, a space where you can show up in your darkness, in your tears, in your snot, in
All
your
the
cheers,
things,
in like in
right?
everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah, and be held,
Yeah.
in a safe way to share your deepest fears, your biggest dreams, and all the stuff that you would probably never say out loud to anybody else that you
Yeah.
kind of
I'm sure
think
coaches
about
are the
all
first
the
people to hear so many dreams, right? The first
time. Yeah.
the first ears, right? And the first eyes to witness. And
Yeah.
it really is such an honor, right? The amount of vulnerability and bravery that um, I witness in clients as they come and they're just ready for something different, right? Like that's when I feel like people come to a coach, they're like, "All right, I'm ready. Like just let's go. Let's find a place that
Yeah.
isn't here." Right?
Yeah.
They're in that
Yeah.
spot of not this. And it's such an honor to really, I think the first thing um I do with all my clients is just like give them access to their soul, right? I
Mhm.
feel like it's
Mhm.
it's um it's a skill, but it's also like a permission. It's like a safety, like you said, they're being held in safety, right? And it's like, no, I actually only want to know what your soul says, right?
Yeah.
Like get still, get quiet, like let's go there together, and I do think that's so rare,
Mm.
so rare in the world. And yeah, so I so value when you've done that for me and when other people in our circle do that for me. It's been such a joy to
Yeah.
be in our creator circle with our coach together.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is next for you? I'm interested in what Louise is working on next.
That's a really great question. And so for me, it really is, it's about that next stage of evolution. Like I'm always looking for ways in where am I hiding myself?
Mm,
Where am I not fully stepping into my greatness in the way that I know I'm capable of? And
yeah.
like really embodying that and embracing it. And at the moment for me, it is very much about sharing my message and my work on a much wider level, you know, because as much as I love coaching, absolutely love one-on-one coaching, there are only so many people that you can powerfully impact in that way.
Right.
And so you know, I'm wanting to create more of just spread this message far and wide, like help people to really wake up to the magic that is within them. And social media right now is such a great way to be able to do it. And I've been hiding away from not leveraging the resources that are
Yeah,
right
yeah,
in
yeah,
front of
yeah.
me to be able to, you know, do more of this work in a more powerful and impactful way. So, you know, it's like it's that oh, I love being in motion. You know, I'm always wanting to be in motion and finding that balance between absolutely loving what it is I'm experiencing and creating in my life now,
Yeah.
and what else, you know,
Yeah.
from that space of, and what else, like what is it that I'm being guided and drawn towards in order to step into. And so for me, it's really just about expanding. And I love simplifying like insights and knowledge and wisdom
Yeah, yeah.
into simplified steps. And so, you know, I'm creating courses and things like that. I've done some courses and stuff before, but I really want to shift to having a lot more programs and services that are ready available for those who want to access this kind of support and growth, so they can really step into living their most amazing lives.
Absolutely. Well, I just so love speaking with you. I love your energy. I love just the passion you bring
Thank
to being a coach and being coached. Um, you and other coaches that I'm around just evolve faster than anyone I've ever known, right?
you. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's why I was like, what's next? Because there's always a what's next, right? Come
Yeah,
hang
it's the
out with
magic of
people.
coaching.
Right.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah, the magic of
that's what we nerd
coaching,
out
you know?
on.
but but it is, it's very much like, I want to point out that it is really it, there's always for me a what next at the moment, but it's never a because I need, you know,
Yep.
whereas before
Yep.
I think I very much lived in a world of like, oh my god, there's something that I need because I'm not enough, or this isn't enough. Like now it's like, what next? Because what is it that wants to flow through me? What is it that wants to grow through me
Yes.
and expand? And where is it that I'm hiding away from that? Like where is it that I'm hiding away from really stepping into that in order for
Yeah.
me to have that next level of growth? You know, so I think that's an important distinction about, again, that's the magic that coaching gives you access
Yeah.
to. It's that feeling of fulfillment, and everything that you think you want it because of what it will give you, because of how it will make you feel. But
Yeah.
through coaching, you learn to tap into that and be that now. And
Yeah.
from the now of being that and living that and experiencing that, that's when you experience, oh, wow, and this new possibility, oh, wow, and this new idea, from a
Yeah.
place of love and growth and service and expansion, as opposed to, I need it in order to make me feel better or worthy or like I'm good enough or anything else.
Yeah, no, that's the big shift, right? Is from playing in a way where you're just every day finding the next thing to prove that you are loved, right? Or
Yeah,
that you're
yeah,
better, or that
yeah, yeah,
sometimes we prove that we're not better, right? Over and over and
yeah,
over. You know, the
yeah.
inferiority game. And the stepping into the coaching world um is just like getting on an escalator out of that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. And you
yeah,
can't
still
quite
good
see
stuff
above the
sometimes.
clouds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're just not gonna play that way anymore. Like, let's just like
Yeah.
decide. It's the decide thing, right? We're all worthy. We are all loved, right? So what do we want to create in the world, right? What would
Yes.
be epic? That's always my question.
Yes. Love it.
Well, this has been an epic conversation. I feel like we covered so much, and yeah, your passion for coaching, whoo, flows right out of you, and I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you spending time with me, and I'll put links to your website and information about you, and that the checkerboard thing you mentioned. I'll put that down below.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll send
so
that
people
over.
can find it. All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Louise.
Thank you. This has been